Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to get into it. The video title is going to be Who Would Have Won the Tuning Exams If It Wasn't Interrupted. This is going to be by New Horizons. Now, obviously, we have covered this topic many times with other reaction videos to other people that their thoughts and opinions with the tuning exams. Obviously, conditions and variables do matter as well when we're talking about these, scenarios. And, it's very contentious. It's not as straightforward as you really think it is. So, it's a really, really interesting topic. Very, very, very interesting. Eventually, along the way, in the foreseeable future, I will eventually have my own tuning exam videos and whatnot, or maybe just 1v1 scenarios, tuning exam versions and whatnot. I might eventually have an in general type of who would win tuning exams overall, and then eventually give my 1v1 videos out. Of kind of going into more detail why I believe you name it, but so that eventually come along the way, but. We're going to be checking out his video. We're going to see why he basically believes or thinks he would win in the tuning exams. And overall, you name it, we'll give our thoughts. I'm not going to do a million fucking pauses since we have covered this topic a good bit. You guys kind of have a general feel for my thoughts and analysis and opinion of etc. If anything ever has to be, said, or maybe if something, that I might disagree with or maybe even agree with, whatever, obviously I'll pause, whatever. But we're going to get into it. It's like 14 minutes long, not too long, and let's get it.
Conspire to destroy the Leaf during the tuning exams. Today I'm going to be going over this and how this alternate timeline plays out, specifically how the finals play out. So in this scenario, we're going to say that Orochimaru tells the Sand Village that the third Hokage is just still way too strong to attack, and they need to wait a few more years to attack. And Orochimaru would tell the Sand Village to build up their army a little bit more. And I think that the Sand Village would understand and reluctantly agree. Now, I still believe that Orochimaru would send his Sound Village ninja, because he'd want to gain trust with the Leaf.
The thing that he has at Dozu, bro. Oh, that man was such a weird-ass character, bro. Such a weird dude.
If he just didn't send his ninja, they'd probably start asking questions, and I'm sure they'd all want to go do the tuning exams. And this would include Dosu. However, I don't think that Orochimaru would send Kabuto, because he wouldn't have any reason to send Kabuto unless they were going to attack. Now, with that out of the way, we can go ahead and start the arc. So, I would think that the written test stays the same, because, there's just no reason it would change. And we can move on to the Forest of Death, and that's going to have a few changes. Now, obviously, Sasuke does not get his curse mark, and would probably not defect later on. Orochimaru also wouldn't mess with Naruto's Seal of the Nine Tails during their fight, because he wouldn't be there. So this would remove two handicaps for our two protagonists in the story. And also Sakura wouldn't have her character moment, where she cuts her hair to protect Sasuke and Naruto.
Hey, why are we doing this, though? I'm a little confused. Why are we taking these variables out? Okay, so the title is kind of misleading in a way. Then you should kind of maybe do like a what if scenario then or whatever. I don't know, but it's a little weird. I thought we normally kind of stick to the writing, and then kind of go off that. So interesting. But all right, let's hear it out.
I also don't think that Dosu and his Sound Village wouldn't pursue Sasuke because they wouldn't know who he was yet, most likely. Orochimaru not being there would actually present Team 7 with a problem, believe it or not, because Kabuto helped them get a scroll in the Forest of Death when they were pretty desperate for one to move on. But this time they wouldn't have all that lost time from battling and recovering from Orochimaru's attack. So I think that with all that time, Sasuke and Naruto are just so strong at this point that they'd easily be able to get a scroll to move on to the prelims.
Okay, I'm glad he I'm glad he came out with that, because at first I was thinking he's about to say they wouldn't be able to get one. I'm like, wait a minute, that's fucking cap. that's crazy. So
and I think the other Leaf Ninja would advance like they did originally. No reason for them to not. And then Gaara's team would also advance just like they did in a bloodbath with Gaara killing those, I think it was Sound Ninja. So this brings us to the preliminaries, and I wouldn't say much changes here either. The only thing that changes is that Sasuke would be able to win his fight much easier without the curse mark kind of messing up with his body. And then also, the guy that Shino fought wouldn't have had his arms broken by Sasuke, so that would give Shino a slightly tougher fight. Shino would just stuff his bugs into his arms and
he would still beat his ass.
Explode for
he was
an
just
easy one for Shino.
Shino was just kind of shown as that guy to, like he was a very tactical, strategist, very capable ninja. You know what I mean? Definitely tuning level. And he's no joke. Like, his bugs are he's a very underrated character. I'll put it that way.
So this leaves us with the fight of the whole show, Sakura versus Ino, and I think it had the same outcome with the double knockout. And I kind of thought at first that without Sakura's character moment, she might not fight as hard, but this offset because Sasuke would be watching those two fight, and this is because he wouldn't have to have his curse mark restrained by Kakashi. So basically we just have an even more intense catfight, and even though Sasuke has never shown an ounce of interest in either of them and barely acknowledges their existence, they're still going to have this super dramatic fight.
Yeah.
It took up a whole episode, but they're going to end with a double knockout. Now moving on to the in-between time between the preliminaries.
I'll be 100% honest with you. If he's taken away the whole Sakura moment with her short hair and, her kind of getting like a mental amp in a sense, like overall, like to kind of, give her more, a motive or more of like, basically a reason to be stronger and fight better and you name it, Ino might actually win that fight. I'm not lying. Like, maybe it'll more likely still end up in a draw, but I don't know. Like, I feel like that was a really, really important factor to help Sakura grow as a person and be stronger, And if that doesn't happen, I don't know, man. I think Ino might actually win that, like dead ass, and she might actually be able to move on. But that's just me,
Not much changes until the finals, so we're about to get there though. And I still think Doso would be killed, because watching Gaara fight and watching Sasuke fight would get him all riled up. And so he would go and pursue Gaara again so he could just kill him and then fight Sasuke.
Yep.
But Gaara would probably kill him very easily. Sasuke would train with Kakashi and learn the Chidori. And then Naruto would train with Jiraiya. And he would learn to summon Gamabunta. But I don't think he would use that in the finals because Gamabunta is just way too big for the arena. And even if he tried, I think he would just summon his son. Because when he originally tried to summon Gamabunta against Gaara, he summoned his son.
Well, the main reason why is because, what's it called? Naruto was using his own chakra. So whenever he uses the Nine-Tails chakra, which is literally stated verbatim that like the only way he can ever summon Gamabunta or to even do the summoning jutsu is if he's using the Nine-Tails chakra, because it's a jutsu that just requires so much fucking chakra, and that his current level and capacity, he just can't do it. You know what I mean? Like to the proper extent to like for it to really execute, if that makes sense. Not saying he can't do it in general. Obviously, that's not true. He can summon fucking tadpoles, you name it, or the fucking little small frog. But if we're talking about like a frog fighter that can actually benefit and aid in the fight, it would require the Nine-Tails chakra. And whenever he uses the Nine-Tails chakra, you know what I mean? Like when he tried to do it against Kasame, when he does it against Gaara, when he does it, he basically always uses a technique if he absolutely deems it necessary. So if he's fighting someone that is enough of a threat and he has no choice, he's gonna summon Gamabunta. So meaning, like for an example, like if like let's say Rock Lee didn't show up, to kind of fight against Kimura the Bone Dude, then Naruto more than likely would have had to summon Gamabunta in order to basically catch up with Sasuke, because like there's just no way he was winning that fight. You know what I mean? But at the rate it was going, like even if he went to one tail, I still don't think he would have won that fight either way, because Kimura would have just went to CM2 and Naruto would have still been fucked. We see literally what happens with Sasuke in CM2, and as of now, in my knowledge and memory currently could change. I would definitely say that Kimura in CM2 would be stronger than Sasuke in CM2. So you kind of do the math, you name it, like there you go. But it's interesting, definitely interesting. But so it depends. Like if he uses the Nine-Tails chakra like he did against Neji, and he basically incorporates that with the summon Gamabunta as well, or Gamabunta, then he could definitely summon him. And the arena is not small. It's pretty big. Like he would definitely fit in there. But I do agree with New Horizons, what he is saying overall. Like, it would be kind of overkill, and that's kind of redundant and defeats the purpose. Obviously, summoning that fucking, summoning is like overkill and kind of immediately makes him Sannin level or Okage level with just that summoning alone. Like, that's kind of, it's kind of cheating in a way. You know what I mean? Like, not really, but in a way. So, like, I do agree that it more than likely wouldn't happen, but it can happen, though. It can, if it is deemed necessary. So, Naruto is that type of character that if he's ever being, pushed to a point, he will use the Nine Tails Chakra, or use 2,000 Shadow Clones, or use Gambunta if he needs to. It's something he does in character all the fucking time. So,
OP move. So we're finally at the finals, and this is where the video starts to get actually interesting. So, as for Naruto versus Neji, it'll go the exact same, because there's no reason it would change. So Naruto takes that win.
Yep.
And after this, we have Gaara versus Sasuke. In this fight, Gaara's not going to go into his ball of sand and try to become the One Tails, because he's not trying to destroy the leaf necessarily. And I think that Sasuke would do the exact same thing he did at the beginning of the fight, and just use his speed to get some cheeky hits on Gaara. However, Gaara's sand armor won't really allow this to do much damage to him.
Yep.
So Sasuke would get some hits off, but they wouldn't yield to any progress and eventually tire himself out a little bit.
Literally
And
what
so-
happens in Shonen the Fight, by the way.
Sasuke would decide that the only way to get through the sand is with his Sharingan. So he's going to do the same thing he did originally. He's going to climb the wall, do the hot hand signs, activate his Sharingan, and then use Chidori. So I think that if Gaara sees...
Now, I'm going to be honest. What is interesting, though, and what is questionable, is if Gaara would even let him do his technique. You know what I mean? Because Gaara kind of learned the hard way and made the mistake of letting Rock Lee do his gates. You know what I mean? Now, to be fair, Rock Lee does activate it immediately and never says or makes any statement that he needs time to do it or whatever. So, like, but regardless, it is stated verbatim that he needs time to utilize the technique because he just acquired the technique and getting used to it, you name it, accustomed to using Chidori. So, if we go by that logic, you know what I mean, and if Gaara doesn't give him time, then Chidori's actually out of the equation. But if Gaara lets him, or let's say you think Sasuke gets like a type of mental amp to where, like he could still be able to activate Chidori regardless of that statement or whatever, and you don't take, and you just take it, as a grain of salt or whatever, then if you grant it to him, whatever, it's going to more than likely go the same way. But if he can't use Chidori, Gaara definitely would win the fight. There's nothing Sasuke would be able to do. It's just not going to work for him.
He's going to be weary, but I don't think he's going to think it'll cut through his sand. So Sasuke would run down the wall and go straight towards Gaara, and with the speed he's shown before, he'd be able to create an opening to basically...
Now, I'll be honest, though, like, if Sasuke does do Chidori, I do think it's a fair possibility that Gaara would do, like, his ball still, not to transform, but just to create, an extra line of defense, because at this current point, I think it's really weird to say he would have the same defense jutsu that he uses against Kiyomaru, like that big, huge fucking sand shield that has like the red lining over it and everything. I think it's really weird to say he would have that, 'cause that's like a stronger Gaara and clearly a Gaara that's trained and you name it. So like, I do believe he would still use the ball of sand, which is basically the strongest sand density and defense he currently has at his disposal at that time to try to maybe help. But obviously, even if he does that, it's still not going to do anything. So I'm just going to just to be fair for Gaara, but either way, the result wouldn't change.
Penetrate Gaara. And even if Gaara's sand get in the way a little bit, it was shown that Sasuke's Chidori could easily pierce through like inches and inches.
And another thing, if he doesn't do the sand dome, Sasuke is going through his fucking body. Like, he's making a big ass hole like he did to Naruto or any other character would happen to. Like, you guys gotta remember, Gaara only suffered minimum damage. Like, he was bleeding and he had like a cut, like a deep cut, but it wasn't like a huge fucking hole or anything like that, or like what the normal damage would be, like what happens to Rin, you know what I mean, or Naruto. Like, if it just straight up hits like his sand armor, you know what I mean, and whatnot, he's definitely going completely through Gaara, okay? And from there, obviously, Shikaku would then come out and then they would stop the fight. You know what I mean? Because he's going to have to heal. He's just immediately going to get incapacitated or knocked out. Where Shikaku, similar to what happens to Naruto, the chakra would leak, his wounds would heal, and then now Shikaku's out and you name it. But obviously they're not gonna let that happen. It's kind of similar with the curse mark. Like that's a little bit bullshit. Like they want to just allow a Jinchuriki to go on a rampage because he's in a fight. If you can master the Jinchuriki's power and use it in that sense, they would allow it, similar to what Naruto does against Neji. But obviously, how Gar would use it is completely different. So, this isn't really necessarily like an actual like legit life and death battle. This is more of just to test if they have the skills and the qualities of a tuning, okay, and things like that. So, you know what I mean. So, just want to put that out there as well. If he does a dome, same thing, gets the same injury he had before. If he doesn't do the dome, it's going right fucking through him. It's going to be tremendously even worse of a damage. Now, at the end of the day, Gar is going to lose his fight. It's just that fucking simple, but, it is what it is.
Of Gaara's sand. So with Sasuke's hands just sticking out of Gaara's back, the crowd would be amazed, and Gaara would freak out for seeing his blood the first time.
Yep.
And then Sasuke would probably take his arm out and then back away to create some distance from Gaara. And I don't know if Gaara would still be able to attack, but he might rampage a little bit, but he's just going to have so much blood loss that they're going to call the match and send him to the infirmary. So that's going to give Sasuke the win, and Gaara's going to be pretty mentally scarred. Moving on to...
So I disagree with that. You know what I mean? Like, you could definitely say the Shikaku and everything where he would just transform and heal and whatnot, and then he was able to still fight Sasuke even with that injury. You know what I mean? So, like, he lost a lot of blood, you know what I mean, just from him getting hit from Sasuke, you name it. So, I think it's a little weird to say that, but, so, yeah, he would definitely still either transform and heal just like he did last time, or he'll be able to still fight just like he did last time. I don't think he's going to be fully out of commission or not being able to fight, even if it does fully go through. That's a little bit weird to say. It's a possibility, but, like, I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, he's a Jinchuriki just like Naruto. They all have the same qualities, same benefits, you name it. It's really weird to say that he couldn't recover or still be able to fight, and use the aid of Shikaku. But even if that does happen, they're just going to cancel the fight, period. Or it would go exactly how he said, lost the blood, whatever, blah, blah. They take him to the infirmary, the fight's over,
Shikamaru versus Temari, I think it would also have the same result. It almost seems like Shikamaru could have bluffed and made Temari forfeit. I mean, she did have her fan kind of sticking up out of the ground. He could have banged her head on it. But whatever. The only reason he really lost was because he's just so dang lazy. But an interesting fact, actually, is that the writer said that he originally planned for the tuning exams to go all the way, and then Orochimaru would attack, and he would have picked Shikamaru to win. And that's kind of insane to me, because he would have had to beat like either Shino, Kankuro, or Sasuke or Naruto.
Wait a minute, let me go back.
Shikamaru to win. Said that
everyone was meant to end the same and did in the anime, but there was a few catches. Kishimoto says he always wanted Shikamaru and Naruto to win. However, the artist said he was worried over how to make that happen since the ninja
he originally planned for the
would be since a ninja would win using his massive IQ. Kishimoto said he isn't nearly as smart
tuning exams to go all the way, and then
as Shikamaru, so it was hard to come
Orochimaru would attack
up with a plan that was smart enough,
and he would have picked Shikamaru.
Okay. I couldn't read the rest. Interesting. I didn't know that was actually Kishimoto's thoughts of who he thought would win overall was Deadass Shikamaru. That is really interesting. So this is why I really always love to look at other Naruto YouTubers and their videos and you name it, because I've never heard of this. Never heard of this from Cess, from Swag, from Six, from you name it. All the YouTubers out there. Okay, like the fact that is even a thing now. Obviously, the integrity of that could be questionable. Like, where is he getting this from? What's the source? Blah, blah. Because I'm pretty sure any other YouTuber would more than likely use it. Or maybe it's just due to the fact that we just clearly didn't know about it. And this is an actual statement, a thing that happened. And he clearly has some type of, reference, whatever. Like, I feel like it's really weird for New Horizons just to pull something out of his ass and be like, oh, this happened, blah, blah, and it's not even true. Like, that's really weird. Why would he do that? You know what I mean? So, I don't think he's bullshitting or lying. But let's say that is legitimate and that is actual, like, concrete, okay, then that's a big fucking deal, because that alone just goes to show that, the whole bullshit, everyone thinking that Sasuke is, like, 5th gate level and all this other crap, or the whole 9 yards of that Sasuke would just straight up speed blitz anybody with the Shidori and all this other crap. like clearly goes to show that that line of scaling just does not work and is not realistic or legitimate at all, and clearly bullshit. Like if Kishimoto is basically saying over here that Shikamaru could be able to react and fight with anybody, and with his raw intellect he could be able to beat them, and that's very interesting. You know what I mean? To think that he could be able to scale that high and then also be able to win with his intelligence. It's really, really interesting. So if that is legit, then that right there shuts down a lot of scaling that most people use in the tuning exams. And for being completely honest. So it's interesting. It really is interesting. So now obviously that wouldn't just immediately scale Shikamaru to like, outrageous levels of power. Like, if we're talking about like 5th gate Lee and shit like that. Like, but basically what he's saying is with everybody that was there at the current present time, obviously Lee wasn't there, so, that Shikamaru could be able to deal with all of them, meaning proving even further that, the fastest amount of speed that can ever be used would be weightless speed, as Lee, so.
And that's kind of insane to me, because he would have had to beat, like, either Shino, Kankuro, or Sasuke or Naruto, which is crazy, or even Gaara, but I think this would make that joke Shikamaru with prep time even more ridiculous. And the only thing we'd ever hear about Shikamaru is that he could beat Madara with prep time. Now on to Shino versus Kankuro. We've seen this fight before, and it happened when the sand finally attacked the leaf. And it ended in a double knockout almost. They both poisoned each other, basically. But I think it would actually be different, and there would be a winner. And I think it would be similar to how Shino won in the prelims. Between the fights, Shino would just stuff bugs in Kankuro's puppet. And basically the fight would start, and then Kankuro would just be swarmed by bugs, if we're being honest. It's a pretty crappy way to lose, but I don't see any reason why Shino wouldn't just do that like he did in his last fight. So round 1 is over.
Okay, so I'm assuming he's saying that due to the fact that, Kankuro won't have access to the trees and bushes to hide. Because remember, the arena is very big and wide and open, and the only trees that were really shown was like all the way in the back of the wall. You know what I mean? So unless like Kankuro is like on the back on that side, great. But those trees don't have anything to hide. Like, yeah, you can be behind it, but you can't like hide in bushes or use like like it's completely different. You know what I mean? It's tremendously more difficult to hide and be hidden. So he's not going to have that benefit. And obviously, if he doesn't have that benefit, then Shino should just be able to do what he did. You know what I mean? So that makes sense. So I do understand where he's coming from, and I do agree with that as well.
We've got our first fight for round 2. And this would actually be the first Naruto versus Sasuke in the series. Before I start analyzing this, I'll say that Naruto would probably gain access back to his chakra points. Because after his fight with Neji, where he got his chakra points cut off, he was able to gain it back for his fight versus Gaara. So here we are with the classic question. Naruto versus Sasuke. And I'll say the answer is Sasuke, but Naruto puts up a great fight. Now, This topic is probably as controversial as something like abortion, but in this fight, Naruto's only chance is summoning 2,000 shadow clones, which he did against Gaara on the same day. However, the only reason he did this was because he was backed into a corner, and we've seen that when Naruto's life is on the line, or his friends, he's going to come in with the clutch, and you can really call it the will of fire.
So you could technically use that argument against him, though, because, at the end of the day, what everybody forgets is Naruto clearly has a very serious rivalry with Sasuke. He's always trying to prove his worth to him and to show that he can be just as strong or equal to him. Okay, it's strongly emphasized, it's strongly shown throughout the show. And, if he has that type of a mental amp, to want to beat Sasuke, to prove that he can be stronger, kind of similar to what he did with Neji, you name it, he can very easily use the Nine-Tails Chakra and beat Sasuke. He could very easily summon Gambunta and be like, fuck you, I'm better. He could very easily summon 2,000 Shadow Clones, okay, whether if it's with his chakra or the Nine-Tails Chakra alone, and shit on him, okay, for instance, when Naruto was fighting against Kimamaru, there was nobody to protect, and he wasn't gonna die. He just straight up immediately summoned thousands of Shadow Clones and used the Nine-Tails Chakra because, he needed to beat this dude, and he also wants to get to Sasuke. So, if he has the motivation, if he has the drive to go to his full extent of power, he definitely will do it. And I do feel like it's a very strong possibility he could replicate those feats against Sasuke, especially when it comes to the whole rivalry and wanting to beat him and to prove a point to everybody, you name it, to become the Hokage, the whole fucking 9 yards. Okay, like he has plenty of incentives to perform that. So I would say it's equally possible, if not maybe even higher, as crazy as that may sound to a lot of people, or to even to New Horizons. So I actually do think Naruto has a more higher possibility of winning at this point, just because of everything that he has access to. And it's just really weird to say he wouldn't, because at the end of the day, it's in his utility belt. You know what I mean? It's at his disposal. Why would Naruto not use something that he clearly trained to do? You know what I mean? Like throughout the whole fucking that's like saying, why would Sasuke use Chidori? You know what I mean? No, like Sasuke's definitely gonna use Chidori if he needs it. You know what I mean? So like, why would Naruto not use Genbunta? That's literally what he learned and what he trained. That doesn't make any sense. So like, I feel like it's a very, either if you wanted like lowball, equal possibility to where you just don't know, whatever, or a higher possibility if we go off Naruto's mentality, why he does the things he does, you name it, and how mental amps go and the whole fucking 9 yards, you know, or better yet, just overall, it's in his disposal. It's what he has access to. So why would he not do it? That doesn't make any sense, you know? So to be able to kind of limit and be like, oh, Naruto wouldn't do this, blah, blah, because he just wouldn't or whatever, I think that's really weird. Like, for you to just come out and say maybe it's an equal possibility that he wouldn't, that's a little bit more fair and understandable, you know? And then at that point, obviously, you probably have to give the W to Sasuke. Like, unless Sasuke can somehow pull, like, a fucking IQ move that he did against Neji to make Sasuke waste 2 Shidoris on his shadow clones. Like, if something like that could happen, then Naruto could pull a W, whatever, possibly, whatnot. But, like, if that's not the case, then Sasuke more likely just wins, mainly due to Chidori, and that's it. Or if Naruto summons 2,000 clones, or Nine Tails Chakra, or Genbunta, definitely winning the fight. So, it really just boils down to how it goes. You know what I mean? It really does. It's just like he did say before, it's a very contentious fight. And, you know, it is what it is. If I had to pick somebody, I would just say Naruto because it's Naruto. Like, I'm being 100% real with you. Like, Naruto at that current point in time, he's just getting to a level where it's just not only is it narratively shown and kind of emphasized that he's just way above Sasuke. Like, literally after he fights Guard, you name it, like, all it basically shows is Sasuke getting pissed and having temper tantrums because of how much stronger Naruto has gotten. Kakashi acknowledges it. The village acknowledges it. He's the hero, you name it. Like, Naruto's just way more over at Sasuke at this point. And it takes for Sasuke to acquire CM2 activation and 3 Tomo just to be able to beat Naruto without Genbunta. Okay? You know, and yes, obviously Naruto does get the Rising God eventually at that point too, but that's not the point. That's Naruto even getting more stronger. So, like, there's many reasons why Naruto's just, you know, very, very shown to be like he's just getting above Sasuke at that current point in time. You know, now if it's like the Naruto that like is in the Forest of Death or the one that fought Kiba, then that obviously is getting washed up. You know, now if Naruto goes like his QB Imp and stuff, then that's a different story. Sasuke would lose still, but you know, like overall, like I just feel like Naruto has way more win cons. I really do. You know what I mean? If he does it, the QB Cloak, W. If he goes into his QB state, W. If he does 2,000 clones, W. If he does Genbunta, W. Like, I just feel like there's way more for Sasuke, while Sasuke's only main win con is just Chidori. You know, like, so it's, I don't know. That's all I really say on that. Like I said, it's really, really, really hard to give a winner. It's all over. People will just yell and say Sasuke. People will yell and say Naruto. But you guys, you know, at the end of the day, you let me know.
And I don't think in this fight Naruto would inherit the will of fire yet, like he did against Gaara, because his friends or himself would not be in danger. So I just don't think it's plausible that Naruto would come out with 2,000 clones like he did against Gaara. But I do think he would summon a buttload like he did against Sasuke on the hospital roof. However, we saw in this fight, Sasuke was able to deal with these clones like light work. Like, he was just effortlessly taking out like tens and dozens of clones easily. So I would say
to be fair, he was taking out the clones, but then he does get overwhelmed, and Naruto does get the upper hand, and he basically forces Sasuke to do the fire stop move to burn all the clones. And the only reason why, like, you know, that kind of takes out a lot of clones, but Naruto didn't really care because he had the Rising Gun, and he just goes with that. Now, obviously, if we're talking about Naruto that wouldn't have the Rising Gun, so if that's the case, I think it's really weird for Naruto just to let all his shadow clones get hit by a fire style. That wouldn't really make sense. And then Naruto could just resummon those clones over and over. So then it kind of just gets to a point of like who can outlast who. And obviously Naruto would have that in the bag when it comes to stamina and chakra. So, it's just shown many, many times that he has way more than Sasuke. So like, if we put that into consideration, I do think even with the clones, that'll be too much for Sasuke. Like him having to just continue to use fire style, you name it, or him not being able to use his Chidori on the real one. I mean, obviously he doesn't want to waste Chidori, so like it's gonna pressure and really put a lot of stress on Sasuke. So I don't think I don't think it's logical to say that Sasuke could deal with his clones no matter what. Like he's definitely not Neji where he has like gentle fist and can seal around and use rotation over and over, or just effortlessly body them all with just his taijutsu. Like he's not to that level like Neji. He's just not. So like it's shown on the rooftop on that fight, and they're basically in similar scaling still. Like you could say that they probably got a little bit more stronger, if they ever trained or whatnot. That's fine. It does show Sasuke training, him using Shidoris as well to kind of be able to whatever. Obviously Naruto trains, but he only learns the Rising Gun, you name it. So like there's training on both sides, but if we're really being honest, we can't really quantify it, and it's more than likely just a very small increase of power. And the only really big difference is Naruto gets Rising Gun while Sasuke gets nothing. You know what I mean? So he's still the same. So so like it's just obviously with a similar line of scaling, you could basically kind of conclude that even with shadow clones, that would definitely be enough and a lot of pressure against Sasuke. I do believe that. So
after that,
it's a joning technique. It's a forbidden jutsu for a reason.
This version of Naruto doesn't have enough going for him to beat Sasuke, because Sasuke's just gonna school him in taijutsu, and Naruto can definitely take a beating, but everyone has their limit, and Sasuke would find it. And also, I don't think Sasuke would have to use his second Chidori of the day against Naruto because he'd want to reserve chakra, and this means he would have one Chidori left for the... On to Shino versus Tomorrow, which is an intriguing matchup to say the least. Now, I think that Shino would try to use Shikamaru's strategy against Tomori and immediately retreat to the trees to get cover and think of a long-range attack. However, this time, Tomori would learn to cut down the trees with her fan to get rid of Shino's cover, because she would learn from her mistake against Shikamaru, and I don't think she wants to be embarrassed. Like,
I'll be honest though, if she could have done that though, she should have done that against Shikamaru, and she never did. So I don't think she can do that. The only reason why she was able to cut trees was when, for one, she gets stronger because she trained, and she gets like a new summoning and can do a new wind ninjutsu technique that basically obliterates the entire fucking, like the entire forest, you name it. So I don't know about all that one. That's a little weird to say. In a way, it could be possible, but if that was really the case, I'm pretty sure she would have done that against Shikamaru. Like, why would she just let someone have the time to strategize and we would have planned and try to beat her? That's really dumb and weird. She's a very smart, intelligent fighter. So I don't know about all that. I don't think that would be an option. But even if like Shino hid behind a tree or whatever to do his thing and whatnot, she could just easily just run up. You know what I mean? She could just run up and go find the guy and blow him away or something. Like, she has many ways to kind of deal with it or figure it out. Now it's gonna be really interesting. You know what I mean? How that fight's gonna go. Tamari does technically have the advantage when it comes to like the terrain, because her wind, her fan, her attacks, while Shino doesn't really have any fucking cover. Like, yeah, he can use some trees or whatever, but all she has to do is just get more closer or just find them, and then or use the shadow clones. She can also use shadow clones, you name it. So like, there's many ways she can be able to figure it out. In all honesty, it can go either way. This fight can go either way. It's very, very contentious. But I do feel like she has more of the advantage to win, because Win should be able to blow away bugs, obviously. That should more than likely be able to beat that. So I don't think the bugs are going to be that much of a problem either. So like, I don't know, like, it can go either way. Shino would really have to strategize and pull Shikamaru, basically, but I do feel like it's in more favor for Tamari. I will say that. That I do agree with him, but I don't think she's just straight up obliterating all the trees. I don't think that's the case at all.
That again. Also, I don't think Shino would be able to just bug bomb Tamari like he did in those last two matchups, because I don't really see any place he could hide them. I don't think they'd really get into her fan, but I could be wrong on that. And the only thing he could do is place a female bug like he did on Konkuru, he could place on Tsunari, and this would attract his male bugs, which would be pretty dangerous for Tsunari. And he could easily do this, like if they shake hands before the fight, or he could send that female bug in between fights. So who wins this close fight? I'm gonna take Tamari because she's not gonna give Shino the chance to have any breathing room like Shikamaru did in their fight against her. And when Tamari tears up all of Shino's cover, he's kind of exposed, and his bugs aren't going to be able to withstand a wind attack, and neither with him. So Tamari would basically use a bunch of wind attacks and eventually hit Shino enough that he's either going to get knocked out or forfeit. So here we are in the final, Sasuke versus Tamari. Now, Sasuke only has one Chidori here, but it's not going to matter because Sasuke's just going to wipe the floor with her anyway. Props to Tamari for being the only other Genin than Sasuke to be able to use a Chakra nature, which is wind style. And she's definitely a pretty good ninja. But Sasuke's superiority in speed and taijutsu easily gives him the matchup, because I don't see Tamari's attacks here hitting Sasuke at all. He's just way too fast, as he showed against his fight against Gaara.
So I'm gonna immediately shut that down. So we actually get to see Tamari and Sasuke fight. It's literally shown in the anime, and basically Sasuke and Tamari fight. Anything Sasuke does isn't working against Tamari, and he's basically forced to do like a type of strategy with paper bombs. He had to do like fire style in a way. They literally have a full on fucking fight. So he does beat her. But he beats her by using like paper bombs and whatnot to kind of like, he basically like created an opening. It was like something where they feel each other out. Nobody gets speed blitz or anything like that. And then basically he does fire style. She cancels it or whatever. And then eventually like he sets up a scenario where there's paper bombs out of nowhere. She's like, oh shit. She gets hit by the explosion and then she can't move and she's incapacitated and then he just leaves. So Sasuke would win the fight just by strategizing or beating her or whatever. That's fine. Or if he does Chidori, what the fuck does Tamari do? You know what I mean? Like, come on. So definitely will say that. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. When it comes to whether if he would have won Chidori or not, that's really interesting because, obviously he would need it against Gaara. And then when it comes to the time where he has to, like, fight Naruto, like, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Like, fucking, like, do you really think he'll have enough time to be able to still use 2 Chidori and go back to square one? Like, I don't think that would be really the case because, like, when he uses Chidori on Gaara, he still only has 1 more when he fights Gaara again. Like, he states it verbatim. You know what I mean? So, like, with all that time that's going on, he still could only use 1 Chidori. So if he uses 1 against Naruto, and we go by what he said earlier, okay, or let's say he doesn't, and then he just has 1 against Tamari, then yes, that's a win con. But if he doesn't, and he had to use it against Naruto, and somehow it was wasted, or let's say it did give him the W against Naruto, whatever, then he doesn't have any Chidori. And the only thing he can use now is just Sharingan, Taijutsu, and Fire Style, whatever, or Strategize. And obviously that would still be enough because it was clearly shown to be enough to beat her. But just to straight up say that, he just dominates her or speed blitzes and all this other bullshit, whatever, that's completely bullshit. That's not the case. We literally saw the fight. It literally happened. So I'm not going to get into all that or explain it any further, but yeah, we'll leave it there. Which also indicates and proves that, Sasuke doesn't just have speed to just straight up speed blitz anybody. It's just not the case.
And he would just blitz her and eventually defeat her in hand-to-hand combat.
So, here, the fact that I'll even show that for you guys. That shit's just funny to me. like, I'm sorry, I'm never ever going to just take a speed blitz argument because it's not implied. It's never ever shown, like, for someone to be able to be speed blitz, you have to have a significant, like, a tremendous gap of speed and power alone. And that's just not inherently shown at all. But let me show it for you guys really quick. So right there, he says, I won't let you get away, whatever. And then Tamari just immediately gets in front of him. So it's like, clearly no indication of a speed blitz happening here. So here he does Fire Style against Tamari. Then he does Fireball against Tamari. And then she gets rid of all his Fire Style attacks, which is Wind alone, which is really impressive because, you know, obviously Wind makes fire stronger. So the fact that she could beat her elemental weakness, you know what I mean, is actually really impressive. And it kind of goes to show how weak Sasuke's Fire Style is. No offense to the Sasuke fans, but she deals with it with Wind. And then Tamari eventually gets the upper hand at a certain point and basically forces Sasuke to use substitution. And you'll see what happens from here. But hey, Sasuke's 5th gate level of speed and power, by the way. And then Sasuke does like a paper bomb on his substitution and then catches her off guard, and then she gets blown up, and then she can't move, and then he moves on to go find Gar, which I'll show that after. And then that's basically the result. She gets hit by the explosion. She basically can't really move. Like, she can move, and she does get up immediately. But then Sasuke's like, oh, I don't really have time to deal with you right now, and then goes to continue to chase Conqueror and Gar. And that's basically what happens. So, Sasuke does win the fight without having to use Chidori. Okay, he just outsmarts her basically and hits her with a paper bomb explosion with substitution. But the fact that she could force him to use chakra, use fire style jutsus, negate everything he basically throws at her. Taijutsu's not an option, fire style's not an option, shuriken's not an option, and literally forced him to use substitution to create an opening with substitution. Okay, it goes to show that clearly they scale to each other in the sense, and you know, you name it. So he's not just straight up speed blitzing Tamari. It's not happening. Sasuke's not speed blitzing anybody in fucking in Naruto. It's just not implied. Like, you can use chakra control, you can use chakra itself to increase your speed and your stats and even overall. And everybody, and more than likely at that point, fucking current point in time, has weightless leave speed. At bare minimum, at fucking least. You know, it's just that simple. Or if you don't think everybody has at least like that level of speed, like travel wise in combat, you name it. At least the Naruto characters have enough reaction speed with either their jutsus or abilities, or can strategize in a way to compensate for that speed difference in a sense. So, you know, obviously she has to have some form of amount of speed in order to deal with this level of an opponent. So it's really weird to say that Shikamaru, Tamari, things like that, you name it, don't have similar level of speed. Okay, and that's just all the proof you can get right there and there. So it is what it is, but just want to really show that for anybody that ever forgot about them literally fighting, it actually happens. Okay, there you go.
Shooting, because we saw when the fight started and Sasuke was questioning what was going on, the proctor said that he's already Chunin level, and we all know that he's Jonin level at this point. And also, I think that the same...
I don't know about Jonin level. That's a little bit... That's like, you could use certain arguments to indicate that he could potentially be Jonin level, but even if you were to say he's Jonin level, then obviously there's a cap. Like, okay, where exactly do you think, you know, he would even be at as a Jonin? Because obviously there's different levels of Jonin. You have like the low tier Jonins, mid tier, and high tiers. High tiers would be examples like, you know, Kakashi and Guy. Mid tier would be like, you know, Asuma and Kurenai. Low tiers would be like, you know, the other two dudes, I forgot their names, but Gimma, whatever, with the toothpick, you name it, the one that was talking to Sasuke, things like that, or the two low tier Jonin that fought against the Sound 4, and they were all forced to go CM2 activation, and it took 2 CM2 activations to fight 1 Jonin each. So to sit here and say Sasuke's Jonin level, you know, whatnot, like, I don't know about all that, because, you know, when we look at Sasuke fighting all 4 of the Sound 4, like, they were able to bully him in base, you know what I mean? Like, and then when Sasuke goes CM1, Sakun goes CM1, and he just bodies him effortlessly again. So to say Sasuke's Jonin level, that's a little bit weird. Like, he's definitely not Jonin level at this point. He doesn't show any feats or any line of scaling to indicate that he's Jonin level yet. Okay? If you want to grant him maybe like low tier Jonin level when he goes into CM2 activation, I guess that's fine. But then again, it took for 2 CM2 activations to beat 1 low tier Jonin. You know, so like, you know, I don't even know about all that. But regardless, you take it as it is, however you want. There's arguments to try to say that you can to scale him to Joning, but I don't think he's hit Joning just yet. I think that's way too much of a high ball, low ball, or of a high ball. But either way, it is what it is. I just don't think he's clearly not to that point yet. It's just kind of shown over and over. Akashi's able to effortlessly deal with him all the time. Even that dude says, "Oh yeah, you're just tuning." You know what I mean? Nobody else ever gives any indication that he's Joning level or Kakashi level or anything or whatever. And then even just seeing the interaction with the two Joning against the whole Sound 4. I don't know. There's just, to me, there's no narrative implication that he's Joning. It's just not there. That's just really weird. Even with the Shidori. So, but yeah, we'll kind of leave it there. And then another example as well. Obviously, if you look at let's say you look at Kakashi as a kid, right? Obviously he gets to Joning, and then he even created Shidori. So he wasn't Joning because of Shidori. He was just promoted to Joning because of his skill. Whatever you name it. But if you compare him to Minato, who is also a Joning, we obviously know who's stronger still. You know what I mean? So you have different levels of Joning. It's just that fucking simple. But yeah.
3 would be appointed a tuning. This is what seems to happen originally anyway, because by part 2, which is 3 years later, Gaara is the Kazekage, and his brother and sister are Jonin. Neji has less of a chance, because he lost in the first round in Naruto, and also he didn't really show good leadership qualities. He was overall pretty bitter. So even though he's super strong, obviously, I'm not sure if they'd promote him to Chunin. And for Naruto, maybe. He definitely showed some grit.
Neji definitely would be promoted to Chunin. And the reason why is because of just how talented he is. Gentle Fist, Rotation, you name it. He's a pure genius. He's very similar to Sasuke. So he would be technically promoted to Chunin. And it is also there because if we use his basically his argument line of scaling that he just presented, okay, Neji was also a Jonin with that same time skip. So that doesn't really make sense. If Tamari and all of them were promoted to Chunin, and Sasuke was also considered Chunin, Neji would be Chunin as well. So that's a little weird. Now for Naruto, they didn't think he was Chunin, mainly due to the fact of certain qualities and whatnot that they just thought wasn't really kind of shown in a way. Now, to be fair, you could also say that maybe Naruto is also Chunin as well, especially with feats, performance, you name it. Obviously, if we're really being logical, him just being able to summon Ganbunto or fight against the Shikaku Tail Beast is a Sonic or a Kage level feat. But, I'm not going to say he's a Kage level, but you get what I'm saying. He does have certain things at his disposal that can upscale him. So, but what I will say at the very least, bare minimum, Sasuke and Naruto and all the people there, they weren't granted the rank of Chunin. It's never ever shown or given. It's stated for Sasuke that he's you already are Chunin level whatever, but he's never granted the actual rank. The only person that was actually given the rank of Chunin was Shikamaru, and that's when they all got together, talked about everything, you name it, whatever, and said, all right, the only person that's being promoted to Chunin is Shikamaru. He was the only one that actually got that rank. So if we go along the logic of who is Chunin level, Naruto would even be Chunin. But let's say you don't want to even count him or whatever, and we just go to certain other conditions. Obviously Shikamaru, obviously Tomari, obviously Neji, obviously Sasuke, obviously Shino, obviously Kankuro, things like that. So they all have the qualifications of a Chunin. Naruto's probably the only one that you can kind of pick on and nitpick and say he's not due to X, Y, and Z. But if we go based on feats, performance, shadow clone, you name it, the Nine-Tails chakra, all that good juicy stuff, or even basically what he does against Shikaku, which everybody also knew about as well and was heard about and talked about. Even Kakashi knew about it. Okay, so with that being the consideration, obviously that is, has to be bare minimum considered Chunin. If the shadow clone techniques is considered a Jonin level technique, come on now, you know what I mean? And he can use so many of it, so it's just really weird. But either way, we'll kind of leave it at that. And then my controller died, but I'm going to actually end the video there because I don't really think there's going to be much more of him to say. He basically gave off all the information he needed to give for the video, so it was a good video. It wasn't bad, it wasn't, anything like that. I'm not going to say it was bad or anything. It was a really good video, and pretty good in a nutshell. Nothing wrong with it. Great, arguments, great ideas, great information presented. Had a lot of good takes and whatnot, and good information being shown as well. Nothing crazy, nothing absolutely unreasonable or anything like that. There was some disagreements here and there throughout, and obviously the biggest disagreement was the Sasuke being able to straight up speed blitz anybody there. But it is what it is. But either way, we'll kind of leave it at that. And, as always, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts down below, subscribe for more content, subscribe if you guys love the channel. And as always, I'll see you next video. Peace.